Okay. Now I'm rethinking. What if we start out sort of with our maybe? Okay. So first of all, I think format-wise, it's discussing the time that has passed. How we were here for Chromatica, what has come, what has passed.
Did Sam tell you that I really like your idea, Sam, so the first time you were on For Gaga, it was Lady Gaga and the Passage of Time, and this is going to be Lady Gaga and the Passage of Time Part 2.
That I love.
And so I actually think the fact that she said her age on SNL, which is insane. I think our way in is like the Passage of Time. You don't like that?
I don't want to. I don't want to.
We're keeping this in, by the way.
Great.
Okay, so then I think we will have to do a track by track, and then
where we list our health conditions with each one, or since 2020.
I'm like crying for some reason.
Okay, let's just start.
Okay,
but I do actually think it would be funny to keep in the last 2 minutes.
Fine.
Okay, go.
Podcast starts now. Welcome, little monsters.
More like big monsters.
More like big monsters. So we are here today with a very, very special episode because, we're throwing our whole framework out the window and we're saying enough. It's time for us to become what we were meant to be, which is a Lady Gaga stan podcast.
Lady Gaga recap podcast. The Week in Gaga.
So last time on Lady Gaga, it was 2020. And
oh my God, was it 2020? Not even 21?
It was 2020. The vaccine was nowhere to be found. We were locked in our homes, and we had Amy Zimmer on to discuss the release of not Chromatica, but Rain on Me. It just Rain on Me. Chromatica had not come out yet.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
And so that episode was titled Lady Gaga and the Passage of Time. And so now you are entering Lady Gaga and the Passage of Time Part 2 with our guest, Amy Zimmer. Welcome to the podcast, Amy Zimmer.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
I do want to say one thing, which is that podcast episode produced one of Amy's biggest ideas of many. There are many things Amy says that kind of I put away in the library of my mind, and I say
in the spank bank,
in the spank bank, in my intellectual spank bank, and I say when you need to jerk it intellectually, you can always reach for these. You can always go into the Amy folder, and one of those things is when Amy said, respecting Lady Gaga, something along the lines of Lady Gaga means the 2010s meant something. To let go of Lady Gaga completely, to be you're hopeless, means that the 2010s were for nothing. So you have to respect Lady Gaga if you think the 2010s had any significance and can be salvageable in any way.
Well, I think that is hung in high relief now when you say.
Yeah. And it actually is funny to think now. Now I think of that as so long ago, but you said that in 2020. So it really was about the decade that had just ended. I mean, this was very kind of, New York Times opinion section, let's take stock of the last decade.
It's amazing because I completely black out 85% of that episode. And to hear what I said back to me about 20 years later is really profound. But I agree with that. Yeah, sure. And I think, what a tragic patina it has now.
Completely. The patina is giving Titanic. First of all, that feeling when the patina is tragic. Second of all, that patina, it's like the Titanic. It's the first scenes of the Titanic where the little camera is under the water and they're finding things and they're all covered in that sort of chunky substance.
Where little cameras are under the water. That's pretty much where we're at. I would say.
I guess the 2010s are sort of, the Titanic main narrative, Leo, Rose, and then the 2020s are more little camera under the water finding chunky substance.
I mean, now more than ever. I almost want to start with, just so listeners, I don't know if they know, with all of our relationships with Lady Gaga.
Yeah. Amy,
please kick this off.
My relationship?
if it, because since we talked, Chromatica has come out. There was a tour. There's been a whole, and then now a new album. I want to know if anything of your relationship with her has changed in the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it would be a little distressing if it hadn't. I actually think this entire, what it seems to be like her sort of promotional cycle around this album is that how much things have changed, which is a big part of time. I don't know if you know about this, but I would say, yeah, I mean, there's always something that changes in your relationship to a mega pop star in the course of a life. And I also think who I am since I even said that has changed a lot. So yeah.
Since you just said that, like since you started that sentence?
Well, that's the mayhem of my mystery. But there is something eternal, I think, to being interested in her work, which is to like constantly sort of not know how you're feeling at any given moment until you do.
Yeah, there's a productive ambiguity there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So as I want to know, like, as Mayhem is coming out, tell us what's going through your brain. Tell us if it's sort of the emotions that it's sparking as she's promoting. I want to know, like, are you like, is it fear? Is it wonder? Is it excitement? Is it anxiety? What are you feeling as she is, debuting her black hair and this font? And I want to know, I want to know it all.
Yeah. How do you feel about the font?
About the orange font?
Yeah.
It's the last thing on my mind, I guess, when it comes to everything. I mean, I've been seeing a lot of these things where it's like compare Lady Gaga's fonts over the years, which I think is symptomatic of something much darker in the culture.
100%. That's the real mayhem.
To go over the font of a business is kind of crazy. But I was really excited. I have been excited to see her going dark pop. I think I was part of the majority, or like a lot of people who suspected it would be a hardcore return to dark pop. And then I think I was in for a surprise when the album dropped. Not an entirely unpleasant surprise, but it takes some adjusting or something to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we say dark pop, because I have to say I'm very much on the outskirts of this.
By the way, that's not a genre that kind of exists, but
is that we're talking like Alejandro?
I think we're talking. Well, I think that obviously the two lead singles that came out were featuring like a really more goth heavy sound, a more industrial sound, which everybody came to know her for. And I felt that the visuals in Disease in particular were exciting. Mm-hmm. I love the choreo with Paris. The new direction. I thought, okay, there's effort, energy, and momentum, which I think if you're going to chart anything through the discography, those three things are. It's hard when those three things are aligned, but
What are the three things again?
I don't know.
Okay. I wasn't trying to catch. That wasn't a gotcha. I
think it's effort, energy, and momentum.
Effort, energy, momentum.
Energy, and momentum.
Yeah.
That's our sort of charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent.
Effort, energy, and momentum is huge, Amy.
Is it really?
Yeah.
It's huge. Effort, energy, momentum. Because I do agree, because actually when Disease first dropped, it was like there was just the single, no music video. And I was like, is there effort, energy, and momentum? Like, I was like, there's a little effort. Like, you did put the song out, but is it energy? Is it momentum?
You felt Disease was not energy or momentum?
I did. I felt like it was effort.
Yeah.
And then once the video came out, then I was like, okay, now we have energy, effort, momentum.
Yeah, what's interesting about those three is that it's not quite that, you have one, that's 1/3. You have two, that's 2/3. It's not like that at all, actually. Because if you have effort, but not energy and momentum, that actually is a self-defeating effort. Because then an effort without energy and momentum just seems desperate, and it's almost worse than not having effort at all. It's worse than being just static. Effort without energy and momentum is someone on the street just sort of like slapping themselves and being like, notice me.
Yeah, well, that's a key part. That's a key part of this anyway. Mm-hmm. But I'm interested in what you said, Sam. You weren't sort of excited by Disease when it happened, or you didn't feel all three were happening?
I didn't feel all three were happening. So my relationship,
whereas I did. I was like, all right.
I did too.
That's awesome. I was jealous of that. As you know, Chromatica was nearly a mental illness for me. I
think it's unilaterally that for almost everybody involved. I can't imagine a universe where it was like a tranquil ambient.
Yeah, where
album.
you're healthy. You're just sort of like, oh yeah, I'm just having a sip of wine, listening to Chromatica.
Yeah,
I listened to it so much. I bought over 5 T-shirts.
Your merch addiction.
That I didn't know.
Your merch addiction was actually crazy, Sam. And I'm still finding out about new T-shirts that you own from the Chromatica.
I'm currently wearing the Dawn of Chromatica shirt.
And can I ask something? All of these you paid for. It was not Team Gaga didn't send them to you as an LGBTQ plus influencer.
That's
you
upsetting.
didn't maybe get them at a concert, like as a free promotional gift.
No, I was lost. I was lost, and I think I needed it so bad.
Yeah.
So I was buying merch left and right, and I was sort of like, well, this is the only time I can buy Chromatica merch, is this moment in time, the summer of 2020, when we are all locked in our homes.
Yeah, of course, except all the various people that completed your order.
Say that. So yeah, pretty much I had to buy as many shirts as I could.
And do you feel when disease came out, you didn't feel the need to, let's say, Google Gaga disease T-shirt?
Yeah, where's your merch stance now that we can leave our homes freely and sort of go about in the political, social climate that is, reaching a fevered pitch? I mean,
I literally I did look up, I said, I can't wait for the Mayhem merch to drop. Then I went to the website. Turns out it already did. And it's just sort of not exciting to me. Which I think is growth. I think is like a good sign. It's a sign that I'm healthier, at least. And I think when disease came out, I was sort of expecting to go into a psychosis once again.
Totally.
And instead I was like, oh, okay. Okay. And that was healthy. And I think, we talk about our relationship with her. I think in 2020, I was literally this is the only thing I'm looking forward to. And this is the only thing that is fun to me. And now I'm like, there's more in my life.
But, that's interesting. God. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a big part of this album subtextually actually is a really noble millennial embracing of getting older, at least on Gaga's part.
Yeah.
Which I really respect because I
do want to talk about that.
I'll talk. When did I say I didn't want to talk about that?
Do you remember at the very beginning when I was like, a big part of the album cycle is the passage of time. And I was actually very struck by the fact that on SNL, she said specifically her age.
Yeah.
And we said, do you want to talk about
and
that?
And then you cowered.
Said, no.
You literally were like, I can't talk about that.
I didn't want to be like, I'm 42 and have sinusitis since Chromatica came out. You know what I mean? I do want to talk about,
Okay, you want to talk about her embracing aging as an elder millennial.
Well, as a pop star specifically, yes. I think that's it's a beautiful moment, I think, in a larger recording artist.
Of course, it's the ray of light.
Career, and it's critical to their artistry, which is a favorite word, I think, of Stephanie.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And I think it just seems like in the promotional efforts, she's pretty dead set on being grounded and adult, or at least a presentation of stability after. Mm-hmm. And that I think she's trying to make it pretty clear that this is about her enjoying making Lady Gaga music again, and that she is 38 and that she's, I don't know.
Do you think?
I think.
Yeah. So, because I'm obviously Gaga, whenever she's promoting anything, there is a certain character she's playing. And, for art pop, it was Mermaid. Right. For A Star is Born, it was Ingenue in her first big starring role. For Joker 2, she was on the verge of murdering. And for this one, I find it interesting that she is actually choosing to be kind of sort of normal.
Yeah, it's down-tempo grunge, Tampa Girl, which I can relate to.
Exactly. And it's actually crazy how she's, you think of her as someone who is inherently, and I say this in a positive way, inherently weird, inherently theater kid-esque, inherently there's something a little bit off. And the way that she has managed to just turn that off completely and be just like charming doing her SNL monologue, like, like kind of talking very matter-of-factly about embracing joy and finding love. There is one part of me that's like, so has it all been a lie to this point, up until now?
Well, that's critical. I mean, to wonder about what if anything's been a lie or not is to fool yourself in this. The lie of Lady Gaga is the essential core of Lady Gaga.
No, it's absolutely
I fully
true.
agree.
I don't think it's about whether or not she means anything or not. I don't think this is like some kind of trickster album rollout either.
Yeah.
I think she's simply saying like, maybe it's a good segue into Perfect Celebrity, but and I don't know if you want to go track by track or what. But
I think let's go track by track starting now.
Okay.
Let's start with Disease. We've discussed it briefly. Personally, it really grew on me, and now I'm obsessed with it. I also love how Azalea Banks is obsessed with it, and that has informed me a lot.
We'll talk about the passage of time to see some beautiful things blooming from 2013 to now is really nice to see. But yeah, I was excited by the grit and the grist of it, and I really liked. I have always liked when she's doing something a little more sledgehammery. And so I really liked the bass in this and the visuals. And I was like, all right, nothing that would make me, buy 5 or 6 t-shirts or something like that. But I was certainly really excited. And
I give Disease 3 t-shirts.
I give Disease 3 t-shirts. I'm excited. We'll get more into this later.
4 t-shirts.
4.
Yeah.
I would say I give it
goes from 1 to 6.
I give it 3.5.
Okay.
Something I like about this album is that it really solidifies a lot of the Gaga themes and motifs. There's like a real world building element to it. Like there are these themes of illness, murder, fame as a prison, a lot of the stuff that we've seen before, but re-examined in slightly different ways. And I really do appreciate that. I also, something about the passage of time, aging, and also her being normal, I actually sort of think it's not that the passage of time is like this linear thing where it ends with her being normal at 38. I actually think for a pop star, the ages of approximately 38 to 42 are when they almost like transcend in this way. It's kind of like when Madonna had Ray of Light. And I actually think after that, you almost have permission to get even weirder if you want. But it's like, this is almost the peak of something where you have to make your grand statement of like, okay, we have now seen what I've done the last 20 years. This is who I am as an artist. Yeah.
Well, that's always the hope I have with artists at the peak of their popularity while they're approaching that age range, which I think you're, by force or by decision, you have to kind of release the trappings of ingenue, an ingenue persona or really just any youth of the pop star and hopefully push your vision as far as it can go. I'm always wanting like huge stars to go as experimental as possible. And there are examples of that, but I find there's a lot less, risk taking nowadays. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a moment where you can reach like an apotheosis of your talents and charms, and also just really do things out of left field, like a Ray of Light or something like this, or some of Prince's albums from that time, those years.
And I do think this isn't quite out of left field. I will say, as much as I am enjoying it,
it's a return.
It's a return.
It's a return.
It's a return with a twist.
It's a return with a twist, but it isn't a left swing in the way that art pop was after Born This Way.
Yeah. Well, I think we should move on to Abracadabra.
Okay.
The second track, the second single even. Well, I guess third if you can't die with a smile, but To Die For. I feel like I give this 5 t-shirts. When this came out, I said, oh my God, I'm going to be so taken care of for the next few months.
Right.
And I said, I want to hear this out and about. I said, talk about return to form, but with a twist. It felt like a combo of sort of all of the eras in one song. And I was and continue to be so into it. It's so fun. And I love the choreo. That's my thoughts. 5 t-shirts.
That's awesome.
You hate it.
I don't hate it. I think I had this one moment because what was it, like the Super Bowl or the Grammys or something? She like dropped the video as a commercial, but
as an American Express commercial.
It was like a MasterCard commercial.
A MasterCard commercial, excuse me. Sorry to the MasterCard team. It was a MasterCard commercial.
If you really want to, throw me back to my youth, it's like, let me get excited about a MasterCard commercial.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Lady Gaga dropping a video, priceless.
Yeah. Well, I think the 2010s idea that I said 7 years ago holds up here, which is like, her music is sort of dovetails with a liberal ideology that we, will unspool for it seems the rest of our lives.
You are completely right there. And I actually think that like the fact that it's all these things that she's doing are hearkening back to the kind of Majesty of the Bad Romance era, but are also sponsored by MasterCard is part of the wistfulness of it. Like
I know. And well, I guess my joke and also my feeling, which is just like, let her cook, so to speak. I don't know. It's sort of like, this is sort of what she does. And I was like, wow, I like the song. The sort of like spark of recognition where you're like, oh my God, I think I like the song. Like to be like brought out of some kind of slumber whenever like Gaga has like an inkling of something. It's a bond between listener and star that's like, I think ultimately kind of unhealthy, but I am here, there, and everywhere. But
I'm really trying to like parse out your headspace right now.
I know, me too. It's actually really fascinating. It's like listening to a public intellectual.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be like that, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Here's something I will say about Abracadabra where, and I don't want to say this phrase any more than need be, but I did want to ask you guys' opinion about this sentiment of reheating the nachos.
I know what.
Yeah, we need.
I'm going to say once. Okay. No, let me finish. Okay.
Yes, of course.
Let me finish. Obviously that's a phrase that's going around.
It's it's the new epidemic. It's the new COVID-19.
Certainly, and I think you can always argue that an artist pulls references and re-originates things, recontextualizes things into a new form, or like things of this nature. But I find it a little distressing that the au courant kind of phrase at the moment is literally pointing to a culture of leftovers. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
I do know what you mean. I think the nachosification of pop music has gone really far. I know everyone's always pulling, I know everyone's always referencing, but I am sort of like this album, like, so for Disease, for example, I was sort of like, I think what originally didn't spark with me is I was like, this sounds like the Kim Petras Halloween album. Like the production sounds identical to the Kim Petras Halloween album. So this doesn't excite me because I'm like, this happened like 5 years ago. This isn't like old news. And it's like, wow, she brought back this sound. It's like, this is so recent. But I do think the more I've listened to this album in general, it is, I would say it's Nachos the album. It is like fully, every song reminds me of another song, and in ways that at first I was annoyed by and now I'm liking.
Yeah, well, I actually don't think like I'm faulting her for any of that. I just think it's interesting in the way we talk about popular music now, which is just like if somebody is to successfully kind of, you just have to sort of successfully reference something and not recontextualize it too much for it to be enjoyable. And I find that kind of interesting.
This goes back to my big idea.
Remind me?
It's not content creators, it's context creators. And all we're doing is recycling the same things but giving them slightly different context.
Well, for example, also Eusexua, which I loved, I stan, but there are songs on there where it's literally Ray of Light. Like it sounds like identical to songs on Ray of Light, which, you know, is having its flowers once again, but it is just like a bit.
Ray of Light's like, you know, what can be said? It's a pinnacle album in music, in music history, and those sounds are still futuristic, I think, is what you're saying. Like, they're still leading edge, they're still cutting edge, and I think that's an album where the core of it is about huge experimentation into the like iconography of Madonna herself. It's like a integration of sorts for her, you know what I mean? Where she's introspective, she's spiritual, she's futuristic.
Well, also in terms of the integration of it, it is literally her artificial celebrity self and her quote unquote real authentic self integrating. That is a big part of the kind of theme of Ray of Light.
Mm-hmm.
So
talk to me.
I'm struggling with I'm struggling with the nachos conversation, because here's one way into it. I want to just reject wholesale the language of TikTok. I don't, just because 3 people said this phrase and then people saw it and thought it was, you know, pleasing to the ear in some way, thought it was like an interesting lens through which to view pop culture. So then they repeated it and the other ones repeated it. It gives you this idea that somehow that is how everyone is talking currently. And actually, I am not talking like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
I'm not, you don't have to accept the terms set by the dumbest people on the planet.
Well, when you're talking about popular music, though, I kind of feel like you have to hear it out.
You are completely right.
I don't think you can avoid
you can't. You're right.
It's like sort of saying like, I mean, would James Joyce refuse the language of his day when writing Ulysses? Right. I just don't think that's real.
Yeah. I guess what I'm still holding on to this nostalgic feeling that internet language native to the internet is less substantial and less real than language that is created in real time and space. And George, that is just it's over. It's over.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I think language is going the way of the dodo.
It's going the way of the dodo.
Which I don't want. I mean,
and now that's a great phrase.
I think my whole deal on words, and I think it might be time to nacho reheat.
Hello? To nacho reheat. Hello?
Time to nacho reheat. Do we want to move to track 3?
Garden of Eden.
Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
I'll take you to the Garden of Eden.
Well, this feels like a return to a variety of Gaga's past. I do think overall Mayhem is a brunette album. Not just because she's 100%. Brunette in this album cycle, but it's the 2007 sort of situation. And it's like, this is, one of the storied demos or something. And it took me by surprise on first listen. I know she said that she was going to this would be full of twists and turns, but I really was like, whoa, it is kind of like an art pop track. It's like a 2007 track. And it's fun.
I was taken aback but then in a positive way. Like, I was like, it was like seeing someone wear like a Von Dutch hat, like when that came back, and I was like, whoa. Yeah. I didn't know we could do that.
I do think there's something like kind of really truthful about, I mean, she's really going back to 2007 in a way few can understand in this moment because she was there. And so I think the dynamism that she brings to like the songs, it's like, it's got true 2006 vibes in a way that's shocking. It's not just sort of cherry picked.
Yeah, it's true, because actually so many of the people referencing that era are in fact 23 and named Tate McRae or something.
Yeah.
And so it is very different when she does it. It almost makes you, well, I don't know. What I was about to say is that it almost makes you wish that is what Madonna was doing. Like, how fun would it be if Madonna was referencing the 80s or 90s or like the Material Girl era in a fun way? But on the other hand, I'm like, I don't know. Why do I want someone to look back like that? Yeah,
I think it's a different delineation. I mean, I'm thinking about like MJ and Prince and Madonna and now, not just Gaga, but like that. This is I guess is what I mean. And so I don't want to say nachos again, but when I brought up that point, the whole point being that like this is a demand now of our current pop stars that I think like transcends like reinvention, which was like kind of the 80s and 90s demand.
Interesting.
You had to reinvent and change, and now it's like you have to reinvent and change and successfully reference this thing that we all remember that we loved, and to like infuse that nostalgia into your current project successfully, whether or not it's sort of like presented in a new way, is a demand of the moment that I think is like, I don't know if I've worked out how I feel about it, but it's
it used to be that the demand was originality and you were judged based on how innovative you were being. And now the demand is the reheating.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And you are judged by how successfully it has maintained its crunch, its flavors, and potentially if you're adding maybe some fresh parsley or something or cilantro on top, what new twist you are bringing to it.
Exactly.
See, this is like, unfortunately, why nachos is an effective framework.
I can't.
No, it is an effective framework. It like gives you language to talk about like like how things are repackaged, because like some stuff it is bad. Sometimes you're like, I reheated these and they're soggy and horrible. Yeah. Sometimes you reheat it and you're like, oh, this is actually to die for. I'm loving these reheated nachos. There is an art to reheating.
Can I say something about reheating, by the way, and Lady Gaga? A lot of people forget this. When she first came out, one of the big accusations was she was reheating Prince, Bowie, Madonna. That was the accusation from the skeptics was that she was pastiche. It was that there wasn't the new thing that you got from like a Janet Jackson, the new thing, the quintessentially... Even Britney or something, like the quintessentially someone thing was not Gaga. She literally had a what's it called on her face, like Bowie,
the lightning bolt.
The lightning bolt. Like she literally had a lightning bolt referencing Bowie. I mean, imagine if when Britney had debuted, she had been wearing a cone bra.
Yeah.
Right.
So the point being, it's actually very interesting. Gaga reheating her own past is almost the fuck you to the initial accusations that she was reheating that of others. Because now she's saying there is enough that I have contributed here that I can reheat it over and over and over again. And the stench of the initial reheating is gone.
But you say that, but that's only this song. Then as we move forward, it's so many reheated nachos.
Okay. Let's move on. Let's move. By the way, I love Garden of Eden, and I want that on the record.
I love Garden of Eden, and I want that on the record.
Okay, Perfect Celebrity. Now, I want to know what everyone thinks.
Well, first of all, the Gaga not reference being a plastic doll challenge.
But again, that's another motif.
Sam, if you want that kind of challenge, I question your fandom.
Yeah, no, it's illness. I
fundamentally question what you believe about the woman we're talking about.
Love is a drug. Because I think
this is her great art.
Plastic, yes.
I mean, I love the song, but when I was close listening on my first listen, I heard like that first verse that's about being a plastic doll, and I was like, we cannot literally say the phrase plastic doll again. But nevertheless, she persisted, and then when it gets to the chorus, I am standing, and I love this song.
The first time I listened to it, I thought this is like a quote unquote bad Gaga song, but bad in a fun Gaga way. But the more I listen to it, the more I actually think it's a good song.
No, I think this is a great one.
It actually isn't. It's not Plastic Doll, which I think is a bit of a kind of like fun Gaga flop. And like, of course, I like it, but it's because I'm a true fan.
You think Plastic Doll's a flop?
I think Plastic Doll is like it's like
say more.
I don't think Plastic. I don't think Plastic Doll is the song you're going to show someone to be like, look, this is a good Gaga song. I think,
like I said, it's really hard. I mean, to discuss whether a song is good or bad, and in this conversation, I feel like is besides the point.
Right. It's a flawed binary. It's a flawed binary.
That being said,
That being said, I love how her voice sounds in this. I wish sort of the last 10 seconds of the song were in more of the song itself. You know, I feel like the grungy thing was like turned up a little bit more at the end, but
yeah.
I also want this is my personal thing that I like of all pop stars. And I think it's really hard and maybe impossible to do, but I would love if more pop stars talked about how much they hate their fans.
Yeah, I completely agree.
You know what I mean?
love when she talks about hating her fans.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't think it's like a hateful or vitriolic thing to talk about this very unnatural, like symbiotic thing, which I think is like a sort of, I think it's a beautiful evolution of human connection, but I think it's like flawed and crazy. You know what I mean? Like you become such an intimate figure in somebody's life and you're a stranger. Yeah. And to talk about how, upsetting and demanding and strange it is and how much you want to fulfill on that promise and how you fail at it or how you succeed is like really, really interesting to me. So I would love. In that sense,
she is sort of reheating Jesus's nachos.
George, promise me we'll never say that phrase again for the rest of this.
We cannot promise that.
Oh, well, I do like what you said. If you had said that sort of normally, I think I would have had a different reaction.
Yeah.
But I do. Yeah. I mean, the Christ narrative is inherent in the American pop star.
I mean, that feeling when the Christ narrative is inherent. I
mean, it's
what
really
I also like. What I also like about Perfect a Celebrity is it's almost like she's actually tried to give this message in, for Gaga standards, more subtle ways. It's like she had paparazzi, she had Plastic Doll. And with this one, she's like, okay, guys, I'm going to say this one last time. I feel like a plastic doll and you're all ruining my life. Capiche? Like that is, it's sort of like, it's like she has.
It's the last time.
I don't think it's the last time.
It's not the last time.
But there is something about it, even the title being so literal, like it's not even trying to be like metaphorical. At least Plastic Doll, she's doing a metaphor.
I think I really appreciated that because I was expecting when I saw the title, I was like, oh, it's going to be like tongue in cheek and it's going to be like a glossy pop song about how she's a perfect celebrity and it's going to be like commenting. And then it was like, oh no, she's just like complaining in a positive way.
Yeah, I like it.
All right,
I like it. I'm in. Next track, Vanish Into You.
This I enjoyed.
This I enjoyed. I will say this is, look, Amy.
Here we go. Here we go.
She's starting.
What?
Look, this is where the nachos thing gets complex. This, I would argue, is Gaga reheating her nachos, but she added shredded chicken that she found at the store.
Sam.
I
feel punished. I feel punished, and I feel wounded, and I feel like a plastic doll, pretty much.
Yeah.
In this
song, literally, the chorus sounds like Bad Romance. Like she just does Bad Romance again, but slowed down with like a different like last note.
Because she does a couple eyes. You're gonna fault her on that?
I'm not faulting her. I'm crediting her and saying she is doing that. Did we not feel this way?
Is it the ultimate? Sorry to use this term, flex to reference yourself?
I have to take time with that. Is it the ultimate flex to reference yourself?
Rather than referencing, you're saying like, look at me, I'm referencing the classics. What are the classics? My old tracks.
I think the ultimate flex is to pretend you have a limp with a cane and then fall and do a flip and then stand up and walk normal.
The ultimate physical flex? Like hip flex?
Artistic, physical.
I think Willy Wonka ate with that, but I think this is a close second. I think referencing yourself is a close second.
I do. Do we think originality on its own is over completely? I mean, did we just leave that behind in the 20th century? Is it a modernist
or has
value?
It ever existed? This is my okay. Here's what I was thinking. Okay, it still exists in the sort of indie sphere. Like I was thinking about originality and whether or not it exists, and then I was like, okay, what about like OK Lou? Like I was like, that's original, right? Or am I just uninformed?
Sam. OK Lou is the most reference heavy.
Well, but this is also
like early aughts, like Euro pop I've ever heard. It's literally it's like a period piece. It's like Keira Knightley in Bend It Like Beckham dancing with a going out top.
But it's so like subdued. It feels fresh. It feels new to me.
Yeah, I think you have to argue what the quality of freshness means. because I think you can always argue endlessly that an artist's job is to reference or not reference. We can
No, keep going.
Yeah, to reference or not reference to. God, I wish I remember the rest of that video. But
Yeah, I know.
I'm sort of metatextually doing it even right now. I think an artist's job is always to learn about things that happened before them, decide what it means to their work, and to either integrate it, change it, or not in their work. And so, it's, I don't think you can avoid being referential, but you can ask yourself how much your references are buried or sewn into the things that you're doing, and how you do that, I think, is how you be an artist. And in one sense, how you fold things into your own thing.
Did you guys listen to the new Panda Bear album?
You're completely shutting me down. Not yet, but I have heard the single and I really liked it.
It's really good. I really like it, but it's also nachos. It's fully just like, it's like a very straightforward, like, I'm going to make music from the 60s again. And in a way that I'm like, well, no one's doing that right now, I guess. So that's cool. I really enjoy it. But it's like, am I allowed? Is this like lazy that I even like this? Like,
yeah.
So I'm torn on, this is what I mean. I'm thinking a lot about nachos.
I mean, that famous essay we read, Sam, that said the last unique thing was Amy Winehouse. Do you remember
when did you guys read that?
It was on the syllabus a few years
It was on
ago.
the syllabus, Amy. We forgot to send it over.
You forgot to send a lot over.
But I almost have a different... Okay, here's my... All right, get ready for this theory. I think there was a break in culture when Taylor Swift and I Knew You Were Trouble included a drop that was like, oh, trouble.
The dubstep phenomenon.
The dubstep, Taylor Swift dubstep, I think actually was it was the Big Bang that produced the microwave that was then used to reheat all nachos from that point forward.
Maybe we're touching on something that is terrifying to realize, which is like dubstep was a truly original portion of the 2010s.
So literally, Amy, that is exactly what I was leading to. Because I'm trying to think, think of the 20th century, how much innovation, hip hop, just like all the various chapters of rock and roll, innovations in jazz, whatever. What was in our young adulthood and adolescence, what was the last new thing? It was dubstep.
It was dubstep.
And it was literally like, I swear to God, it was also like LMFAO.
Well, LMFAO is pretty singular.
Well, and I would argue LMFAO is in tandem with early Gaga. It was just like, how can we have like the loudest, danciest, like no moment of quiet at all, just like banging.
And this is something that is forgotten, I think, by potentially some younger fans of Gaga, is that the initial glam was indie glam. Gaga was Santa Gold, but then took it a step further.
I can't follow you there.
You mean like the visual, like the costume?
It's sequins, but it's dirty.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
It was a reaction. It was
American Apparel.
It was American Apparel. Yes.
It was a reaction to the previous couple years of like intense folkdom.
Yes.
It was like a folk heavy Bush years led way to a kind of glitterphonic Obama years.
Yes, but then the glitter was not.
Let's not dwell on it.
No, I think we have to. I think there was a chance to embrace the glitter, but people were afraid to. I don't think Obama was glitter. I think Obama on the...
I didn't say that.
What did you say?
Obama was glitter. I said
I think Obama, there's on the one side of things, you have just a single leather boot. And on the other side, you have a bucket of glitter. And I think Obama went for the boot more than the glitter.
Wow.
So the next track is Killa.
Killa.
Okay. So Killa is obviously the next single.
Yeah.
Because she performed it on SNL. I personally, here's what I'm going to say. I think every time I talk about a song, I'm going to start by saying, I personally really like it. So, I think fans may think I'm not critical enough, and that's okay. But this song is sort of Prince, Bowie, and but with classic Little Gaga isms. And I think at first I was like, jaw on the floor, this is so corny. And then it's really won me over. I'm addicted now. I think the breakdown is so genius. I do wish it started there and stayed there. But
You wish it was
with
only
moments,
the outro?
I wish the outro was like way more prominent and it would like have breaks of the like little funky part. And then it would go back to being kooky.
I respect that. Well, the Fame reference is so hardcore in it that it really took me by surprise, I gotta say. But I liked the SNL performance. I thought it was cool, and like I liked the CCTV kind of moment of it, and
yeah.
I give it a couple t-shirts.
Yeah, I give it a couple of t-shirts. Once again, she's going back to themes of murder and death. And specifically killing.
And I think kill AH is quite funny. I think I love Gesaffelstein.
So who is that?
I mean, I just love the name. I love saying featuring Gesaffelstein.
And he's French.
He's a French DJ?
Producer.
So pretty much that's who Gesaffelstein is. Do you know who Gesaffelstein is, Amy?
Yeah, Amy.
I know they're a legendary producer, French producer.
Are they legendary?
No. That's what I hear.
Okay.
Many of my sources are saying that Gesaffelstein is quite legendary in the French DJing and producing space.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Amy, I feel almost that you're beating around the bush. Do you not enjoy this song?
Yeah. And also, Amy, can I ask something like, what else are you hiding?
Like, what? I don't
know.
There is something deeper about this album, and there is something. Here's what it seems. All right. Here's how I feel about Gaga at this stage. All right. I almost feel like that moment when things are so dire that you're not allowed to criticize the Democrats.
Oh my God.
I think that there is something. Culturally speaking, our community has to hold on to Gaga so much right now that it feels unethical, even if I do have an issue with one of these songs, or even if I potentially have an opinion regarding the reheating of Nachos, that this is not the time to be critical. In the same way that when it is time to be united and resist and coalition build, I shouldn't be making fun of Nancy Pelosi.
Wow.
I think
this is scaring me.
What do you think of that?
I think I think that's probably true. I think I'm going back and forth with this thing where it's like we're talking about getting older and talking about this album, and I think I keep going back and forth about what it means for a pop album to be resonant to me or not at this stage in life, and I don't think that the album's not
life.
This is why I don't open up. Actually.
Amy, come on.
This is why I don't open up.
Sam, we were getting somewhere.
No, let's talk about Killa. Let's talk about Killa.
We literally,
Who's gonna remix
finally
Killa?
I'm getting Amy to say that, to address the elephant in the room, and you're going to go and do that?
In life.
Amy, please keep going. Ignore him. Ignore him, Amy.
What's after Killa?
Zombie Boy.
And see, Zombie Boy I love.
I love Zombie Boy.
I love Zombie Boy.
I love Zombie Boy.
So
it reminds me of nights I've had at the Standard.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, Lady Gaga grew up in the Standard. Like, pretty much that was her whole life.
Grew up in the Standard Hotel?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Going to the Standard, going to the bar at the Standard.
I do like a 2010s version of the Chelsea Hotel where instead of, Patti Smith, it's like, it's literally like all the people that were at Pitchfork Fest, but they're like being put up at the Standard.
Well, it was
and
the
they're
Standard.
all like honestly doing fine financially. They're just sort of like partying at the bar.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were, what's the bar called at the Standard?
Top of the
Boom Boom Room.
The Boom Boom
Room.
Yeah. It made me think of the Boom Boom Room.
Where I saw Madonna perform once.
It's fun.
Yeah, I think the funny thing about like Killa, Zombie Boy, Disease, like I think it is funny. Part of me is like, did you intend for this to be a Halloween album and just like
well, that is the dark pop of it all.
Yeah,
it's
and
just
also
so literal.
Yeah,
Yes.
and well, she's literal.
The Beast.
She's pretty literal. I mean, for her fantasy and for her, like, you know what I mean?
Even
She's
Die
literal.
with a Smile. That is also Halloween, even if it's much more of a, Uber song, Target song, branded. Like, Abracadabra is magic. It is a Halloween album. I'm really realizing it's a Halloween album.
Well, I do think that the part of the imagery around the album is talking about this thing I think we're maybe struggling to articulate, and maybe we're not, but it's just sort of like the resuscitation of Gaga herself, like the Gaga of her life is like this sort of like endless combative resuscitation, this like coming back from the dead and all of this kind of stuff. It's this seems to be like her struggle, which I always find that stuff kind of very interesting. Want pop stars to write all about it. So I do think like obviously the imagery is pretty literal in the songs, but I do think she's trying to pepper that in there to be like, what happens in this like rebirth is actually like constant death also. And it's really exhausting on me, who's like actually an alive woman in a relationship and wanting to be a woman. Do you know what I mean? Like, and wanting to be like alive.
Rebirth is constant death is so true. It's not like you are reborn and you're stronger than ever. You're still carrying the weight of having just died.
Well, you're meant to sort of ask what you take with you.
Exactly. And also, a rebirth can be a zombified rebirth. I mean, a zombie is in a sense undead, is in a sense alive. And, to go from colors in Chromatica to black and white in Mayhem, there's a symbolism there as well.
And what do you think that is?
That we've lost the color.
That we've lost the color.
Folks, we've lost the color.
Well, I wonder if there's kind of like an inverse. It makes me think of, I think this album, we're talking about how referential it is. It's very intentional. I think that it's this referential.
100%.
All these different iterations. And I think about the Fame Monster, what that meant, the departure that it had through that darker imagery and the monster stuff. And there was a lot of like animation, you know what I mean? In those songwriting, she was animating different desires, different ambitions through like this kind of horror imagery. And I almost feel like now it's like a little bit inverse, where like the music itself is full of a lot of life actually, but it has the sort of kitschy, more like tongue-in-cheek, like horror language. Mm-hmm. It's not as dark as the Fame Monster, but it maybe has more life. You know what I mean?
Also both the Fame Monster and Mayhem are Halloween albums, because the Fame Monster also played with themes of monsters, zombies, etc. And by the way, the Fame was color and the Fame Monster was black and white, just like Chromatica was color and Mayhem is black and white.
Wow.
And you can't argue with that, but what do you think Born This Way is?
Well, that's
because there's color and black and white.
I think Born This Way is like, isn't even part of this conversation really, because to me Born This Way is like Gaga at her most commercial. I'm not saying that in a negative way. Like there are great songs in Born This Way, but
Sam just heard alarm bells.
Gaga at that point was the #1 pop star, and she released Born This Way. It's a different
I know what you
thing.
mean, but she also, it's a bit of a like, I think this actually does relate to Born This Way because it's so like, look how many genres I can do.
Yes.
I think Born This Way was very like, this is going to be a Bruce Springsteen song. This is German dance. This is country. And I think Mayhem is like that a lot too.
That's actually a very good point. So in a sense, what's being reheated is the eclecticism. It's not like each song is reheating different paths.
I just feel like I created a monster.
I'm not saying the word.
So referential, but
I'm gonna say the word.
I think honestly that's what feels most refreshing about the album as a whole is the eclecticness, because now everything is so market tested and so like, this album is about blank. This album is like my 90s house blank. This album is for this. And this is like, I'm everything at once. And it's like actually very confusing. And I'm like, wow, this actually makes it feel refreshing.
That is actually the only constant. That is
constant. And that is what pop like was in the, I don't know, 90s and early aughts. Like pop was, in fact, the criticism of it was that it lacked cohesion and it lacked a coherent vision, and it was just like an album for a pop star was just a series of singles or a series of songs that could be played without any context. That was the criticism of it. And to make an album like Ray of Light, or even something even more cohesive than Ray of Light, like something that's like a concept album, was the exception. It's like something that someone would do when they wanted to like really make a statement. And then at some point, everything became a concept album. Like at some point, it was like each album was supposed to be like a built-in narrative.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of the game. I think, I mean, I think you're sort of stuck as a pop star either to be like intentionally anti-narrative, or you have to build the world, you know? And I do like what you said, that I do think of a constant part of Gaga's work is that she's always doing something different than anyone anticipates, which I think is like how I've met this album, where I'm like, oh, it's completely different than what I thought it was going to be. And I always find like love and affection for every project. It's just sort of a manner of how it washes over. You know what I mean?
I do know. Should we go to the next track?
So the next track is
Love Drug.
Yeah, so now this is I mean, so it's Love Drug.
So pretty much it's going to go ahead and be
You've heard of love, you've heard of drug.
You've heard of love, you've heard of love games.
And
so Love Drug.
Love Drug. And now I actually like this one.
So
I like it too.
Let's start there. I like this as well. Although I'm going to listen to it on my headphones really quickly so I can
That doesn't feel
remember
fair.
Exactly. I'm going to say something that Amy's going to get mad at me for.
What is it?
I don't want to get mad at you, just so you know. You just do stuff that makes me mad.
Okay. On first listen, when I was really close listening to everything, I was like, what does this remind me of? What does this remind me of? Katy Perry's I Kissed a Girl.
I've seen people saying that. I didn't really like hear that on first listen, but I get that. I mean, there's similar.
It's very like, it felt so wrong, it felt so right, don't mean I'm in love tonight. It's like very similar. It's not illegal. Katy Perry doesn't own that, but a lot of this album was like, I kept being like, what is that? It's so familiar. But it's just like a little bit off. Let's run through the tracks. We're going to move quickly.
Okay.
Because we want to talk broader. And okay, so How Bad Do You Want Me, the Taylor Swift sounding song. Obviously, this scared me.
I loved it.
But George texted me, I love How Bad Do You Want Me? And I said, what?
I did not realize. I mean, I was like barely awake listening to the album for the first time. It came on. It was catchy to me. I texted Sam, oh my God, I love How Bad Do You Want Me? And he was like, the Taylor Swift song? And I had no idea what he was talking about. And then I guess I looked it up. And what is the story there?
Well, I think it's a rumor that she like did background vocals on it or something.
Oh,
I think that's fake.
I mean, it's fake, but I mean, it just sounds identical to a Taylor Swift song. It definitely
sounds like a Taylor Swift song, but it also sounds like a Taylor Swift song by way of Gaga in the way that, I don't know, Edge of Glory is that type of song by way of Gaga.
Yeah, it's just as like I look forward to one day finding peace with my relationship with Taylor Swift, but today is not that day.
You're just allergic to that sound, so you can't let it into your heart.
Exactly.
Interesting.
I think it also has a little bit of The Cure in it. Not the band, but the song.
Yes.
Although if I made a connection now that it had references to The Cure, the band, I think this would be a perfect episode for me.
Okay, let's move on to the next track. Don't Call Tonight. This is sort of reheating Alejandro's Nachos.
Oh, I see what you mean. Like Ace of
Don't
Base.
Call Tonight. Don't Call Tonight.
But there's also, it made me also think of I'm Not Having Fun Tonight. Another song with Tonight in it.
Tonight is the idea of tonight really looms large in pop music.
We'll talk about the concept of time.
Well, I could have a whole another episode talking about the concept of tonight.
But truly, the concept of tonight is one of the most powerful concepts, because to talk about the passage of time, the idea of tonight is both now and not now. It is tonight. It's coming, but it's basically already happening.
It's almost already over.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God, the temporariness of it is really scary.
It has this dual meaning where it can be morning and you can be talking about tonight and it's in the future, and it can be tonight. And you can be like, I'm having fun tonight currently.
Right.
So it denotes both future and present.
Yeah, I think it's a compression of like actualizing on your desires. It's like you've got about 8 hours, 12 hours, maybe 15, 16 hours if you stay up all night, which becomes dawn, which Sam can speak to Dawn of Chromatica later. But you know what I mean? You have a certain amount of time in which you can make the most of things. And that is a really that has a lot of charge to it in a pop writing landscape.
It's such a short amount of time. It's like make the most of tonight, like make the most of the night, but also it is infinite. It's like it's forever.
Tonight will last forever, or
waiting for tonight
will start tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Shadow of a Man.
Shadow of a Man.
You love Shadow of a Man.
I heard Shadow of a Man. It's hard to do. I want to continue rushing, but damn, Shadow of a Man is crazy. To reheat Michael Jackson's Nachos in in such a way, like the production, her voice sounds like Michael in a way that is jaw-dropping. My jaw was on the floor picking up crumbs because it sounds so much like Michael. And I was gagged in a positive sense. I think this song is so slay. I think it's so crazy, and I loved it.
I loved it too, and I saw that it was that she had used it in like Chromatica or something at the Chromatica ball or something.
She used the little intro sound.
Yeah.
And when it's like,
it doesn't feel fair that you guys are re-listening to it during the app. And
I had to. I literally have not remembered a single song that we have talked about.
Really?
Yes. I mean, I listened to the album multiple times. I tried to prepare. We're saying the title of each song. I have no idea what we're talking about.
This was at the end of
yeah, it is very okay. I'm getting the Michael Jackson. Yes.
Totally, of course, it's MJ. I do think about how she has his clothes a lot and what that must be like.
She has his clothes?
Yeah, she bought a bunch of his clothes.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember watching the Chromatica Ball tour video, and it ends with Lady Gaga will return, and it plays the very small snippet from the beginning of this song, which is funny.
I love it.
Okay, we love.
What is The Beast?
The Beast is a ballad that to me is I think. Here's what I'll say. I think it works in the context of the album, but to me, it's the one song where I'm like, I'm okay.
Okay, and then Blade of... Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay.
No, go ahead.
And we'll leave it there. Blade of Grass.
Blade of Grass. Okay, here's okay, Amy, get ready to scream. Guess whose nachos this is reheating?
Uh-oh.
I was listening to this and I was like, this sounds like something. It sounds like Coldplay. Fuck, what's it called? Is it Viva La Vida? Yes, it's Coldplay Viva La Vida.
Walk me through.
So it's like da, 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 da. Like I hear
Yeah, I know Viva. I know Viva. I know her.
So Blade of Grass is like the same it's like da, 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 da. It's like slower, but I have to play it to listen to it, to hear it.
Can you
Let
play
me
it
find
into the mic, or is that going to explode everything?
I can play it into the mic.
Because I didn't hear Viva La Vida like that.
Let's see.
Dun, 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 dun.
Wait, are we both playing it, Sam?
What is behind you, bro? See Jerusalem bells are ringing. Jerusalem Drive. I get that, actually. Totally.
It's Viva La Vida coded.
And by the way, in about 4 months, it's going to be Coldplay Core.
Oh, yeah.
Calling it now.
What did you say?
I said in 4 months' time, it's going to be Coldplay Core.
In 4 months' time. Set your cows now. Talk about the passage of time. In 4 months. 4 months.
I feel like whenever I do this podcast, I'm like an owl that you guys consult.
Wait, we're insulting you?
No. I just feel like I speak in complete incomprehensible riddles, but there's someone out there that has to understand me.
No, you are. What's funny about what you said is it's exactly the kind of thing we would say, but then like it's so us to be like in 4 months, Coldplay's making a comeback, but then you said it and we're acting like you're insane.
That's what I mean. I feel like this is a critical part of us doing this together.
Totally. You're literally coming at us and you're like, yeah, I'm speaking your language. Like in 4 months, it's Coldplay Court. And we're like, what the fuck is she talking about?
It's like,
so July, we will be seeing Coldplay Core. People will be blasting Yellow at the 4th of July party.
I do think that there's something so down the middle about Coldplay, and that is sort of where we're headed.
I just think there's going to be sounds. I think Benson Boone, in a way, is like a precursor to Coldplay Core.
Yeah.
But he's too big of a voice, I guess, maybe.
He's too big of a voice because there will be an indie Benson Boone. There will be like somebody being like, I can be indie and still be anthemic. And that's how we get to Coldplay.
Imagine Dragons.
So yeah, I heard Viva La Vida in Blade of Grass.
But that means that I actually stand Blade of Grass.
People are saying that this is a worse song on the album.
What? Beast is the worst song by far.
I had trouble with The Beast, but I also, you know what I liked about The Beast? I know we're not talking about The Beast, but I really liked how, I liked that little like do. I thought that was
sure.
No, that's bold. Nice. But anyway, yeah, she's going to have big ballads that are sort of I think a piano ballad is essentially her soul, whether you want it to go this way or that way.
Does The Beast have what it takes? I mean, we haven't gotten a You and I in a while.
Well, I think these are supposed to be sort of if we're doing an umbrella of the types of songs she does, I think those fit underneath a little bit. I mean, she does a piano ballad about love, like she's got a lot of those. And I think these are part of that.
Blade of Grass is very Thousand Doves coded to me.
That was my first thought too. In fact, I think I would almost proposition that we change our rating system from 0 to 1,000 doves to 0 to 1,000 blades of grass.
I think that's a genius move. And I think moving forward, save for the pre-recorded episodes that we have coming out in the next few weeks, we will be changing it to
blades of grass.
0 to 1,000 blades of grass.
And it's funny because you guys didn't prepare straight shooters for me. And so I don't even really get to even be a part of that, which is kind of also how I feel sometimes doing
It's so interesting because we put you on such a pedestal, like
we think this is a very special episode.
Yeah, like to me, I'm like, we're interrupting our normal programming because, a queen has entered the chat. And yet you are thinking of it as us disrespecting you or something.
I feel, like a plastic doll.
Oh my God.
I'm kidding.
What do you think about because to me, something interesting about Blade of Grass is compared to all the other titles and all the other visual motifs that we're seeing, A Blade of Grass is very different. It's actually not. It's not Halloween coded.
No.
Well, it's got a story behind it. The Blade of Grass.
Do we know the story?
Yeah, what's the Blade of Grass story?
I feel like this is the only thing I've ever learned in the history of learning things, which is that she talked about being proposed to by her fiance, Michael, and he asked how to do it, and she was like, "Just take a blade of grass and wrap it around my finger."
Oh, so this is classic Gaga, where I'm like, that's a lie.
No,
like that's a lie.
But don't you think like having a blade of grass around your finger is so cool? It's so kindergarten core, which was in the next 5 months.
Yeah,
It'll be kindergarten core.
Yeah, after Coldplay. Well, it's going to be Coldplay into kindergarten core.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's going to be kindergarten fall. Like, everyone's going to be back to school.
I guess.
Nailed it.
And then Die with a Smile.
Well, I will say I was shocked, much like everybody else, to see that it actually made some kind of sense on the record.
Me too. I think it makes a lot of sense in the context.
Yeah.
And I could have never predicted that.
Not in my wildest dreams could I ever think a song such as this could flow so perfectly into the opus that is MAYHEM, which I believe it's MAYHEM.
MAYHEM, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we've gone through the album.
We've gone through the whole album. Here's a stray thought regarding Michael. I think it's funny that people are talking about Gaga in context of bear community. People are saying that Michael is a bear, that she's one of us, that she likes bears, in a way that I think is so funny. Because also I actually do think it's charming and like refreshing that she's just like found a like average guy, like looking like he's like not like svelte or like 15 years younger or something.
She wants
have her
to be
previous boyfriends
chilling.
also been sort of normal looking though? Because she's not someone who has ever gone for the hot
hunks
celebrity.
in the roster.
Has she?
I just found an article.
Where do you think the
entire
cultural
dating
temperature
history.
is on hunks?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I actually think
Hunks
people
and
are
hotties.
so hungry for a normal guy because they don't exist anywhere.
Right. This is what I mean. I think this is kind of the normal undercurrent we're talking about.
And I actually think who's a real pioneer there is Lana Del Rey.
Well,
I mean,
I think she sort of opened the doors. Yes, well, no, there's no time. But she opened. I think the ultimate fetish for straight women, straight white women, especially, the ultimate fetish is a normal guy because it's something you don't find anymore. Because on the one hand, you have you have sort of Brooklyn
weird guys,
like Brooklyn fat menswear guys, and then on the other,
Did you say faff?
Did you say faff?
No, I said
Brooklyn faff.
Brooklyn faff.
What's
weird
faff?
guys.
I don't know. You said Brooklyn faff?
I did? Are you making?
What did you say?
I said Brooklyn menswear guys. I did not.
You said something with an F.
I literally did not say the letter F.
Faff, or like you were British, like faff about.
Brooklyn.
Well, I heard that too.
What?
I was like, oh, Brooklyn faff?
Brooklyn faff.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't not make sense.
On the one side of things, you have Brooklyn menswear, this sort of like fuck boy. And then on the other side of things, you have incels. And so those are the two options for women currently. And so there's this, they are trying to find who is the normal one? Who is the normal one in the middle?
I think there's so many more varieties of weird guys you didn't touch on.
I mean, I guess there's
do
also
you care to
gamers.
fill in the blanks?
I think, what about the guys that have sort of the Seneca profile pictures and and the people that streamers and
yes, there's streamers,
Christian
there's
photographers,
Christian photographers, Christian.
There's still the poets, of course. There are, of course, something I did mention is the so-called finance bro. That's a big archetype.
They do exist.
In this day and age is the finance bro. There's, of course, the crypto bro.
Yeah.
But again, all these, what they have in common is that they're not normal. And so women are desperate for something that's down the line.
Well, he's a tech guy, isn't he?
He's a tech guy, yeah.
Next. Let's go over the track list again. Disease. I love that shit. Abracadabra. Do it again.
Abracadabra, great.
Garden of Eden. I love those chips. Next.
Let's talk broad strokes. What do we think? I think personally, I want to say I'm standing. I think it's settling really nicely with me. Where at first I was like, hold on, this is not what I was expecting. And now I'm finding it to be so fun. I'm finding part of the charm to be her confidence in it and her like joy in it, where she doesn't seem like she's saying like, do you like this? Like she's saying like, I like this. And that is all that matters.
There's no desperation.
That's what I mean about her embracing like an adulthood that feels really good. And I think, we're talking about all of this and we're talking about what like a modern pop star is, and we're getting like really heady with it, of course. But also I think like Gaga's impact, you can't deny. You can't deny her unbelievable craft. And at least giving us something that aims to unite, a bunch of people get together and dissect this and that, which is really like, I think it's in a moment where that type of like fanfare over something is struggling. So I welcome it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I do think it's really nice for the community to come together. I've like actually mostly just enjoyed this weekend and been like, oh, everyone's talking about it. Everyone's like having their little opinion. And it's so fun to be like, God, we're all on the same page.
I think that's what I've been trying to say this whole time, where it's like having everyone having their little opinion is like essentially what we're trying to do, what we're trying to enjoy, you know what I mean? Like the rock we're all kind of congregating under. I just wanted to drop in and check in about what it even means to sort of be a fan in this moment in time.
I know.
How do you guys feel about aging?
About aging?
Yeah.
Well, if I do it anyway like Gaga, it'll be a total victory.
Well, I want to say, like, I find it interesting. Part of the passage of time element is that it is fun to see how she approaches pop music, because I'm, as silly people, I'm sort of like, how do I approach? Like, when I hear a Tate McRae song, I'm like, what is my emotion supposed to be? Like, am I supposed to love this and be like, I stan Tate McRae? Or is my emotion supposed to be like, that's for children, I'm an adult? And I think she's like almost giving us a path forward for frivolity, where it's like, you don't need to be like pretending you're 22, and nor do you need to be pretending you're 100.
That's genius. Yep. And actually, like, she has done both. She pretended she was 100 with Tony Bennett, and with her Oscar campaigns, she pretended she was 22, kind of, but like with parts of Chromatica, with parts of even just like her with Aria. I love Rain on Me, but there was something childlike about that. She was sort of like trying it on for size. Like, what if I'm dancing and I'm a kindness punk and I'm in the rain? And I do think there is this like, she tried one side, she tried the other, and now she's come out in the middle, and she seems self-actualized. Yeah. And that's kind of what the best you can hope for.
Yeah, I find that to be good. I think, Amy, response?
I was going to ask a question about if you could design an album, if you could design either a Gaga album, I guess, or like a pop star, which you would feel like lifted up and electrified by this combination of things that they did, what would it be?
So your question is, what would our dream pop star be?
Is that so crazy?
I didn't say it was so crazy.
Yeah. Sort of, you were like, okay, wow, here's this, they do this type of thing.
Okay, she's
roll out is like this.
9 feet tall.
Oh, right.
She has Whitney Houston's vocals.
Got it. I'm writing this down.
But she actually doesn't use them. She does all auto-tune. It sounds really bad. It's like Kim Petras auto-tune.
But she has a voice.
She has a voice.
All right,
if she just sang karaoke, you would be shocked. But she refuses on principle to do that when she gets into the studio.
Okay.
I'm going to say something really controversial. Her hair, it's ombre.
It's ombre.
Yeah, it's ombre.
And when we're talking about what kind of colors, we're talking brown to blonde?
Traditional brown to blonde. And beach
she's
waves.
9 feet tall with ombre beach waves.
Okay.
By the way, those beach waves,
to hell.
those beach waves are going straight down, like down to her ankles.
To her ass.
Ankles.
9-foot beach waves from her head down to her ankles.
Got it.
She has the voice of an angel, but you literally wouldn't know it. In fact, everyone is saying she clearly like has no vocal talent. That's what she always does, auto-tune. There's no one even
There's controversy about her ability to sing, but secretly she can.
But she as part of her act, like as part of her performance and her like performance of self, she is not revealing that she can sing.
And she like every time she has a live performance where she's like, I'm doing like raw, like a fly flies in her mouth and she like and so people think she can't sing. Like there's no proof that she can sing.
But she's singing live.
She's singing live.
She's singing live.
Singing into an auto-tune mic.
And so it like she like it's like not beating the can't sing allegations, I fear.
And actually there are all these like bootleg, it's like people that have been in the studio with her know she can sing. And so there's like all these rumors like, these are the real vocals to Sound of Change. But no one...
Sound of Change is the album?
It's one of the singles, but it was one of the less successful ones.
So... So she's okay. So I'm just saying the album. Okay, this is the album.
The album is called
Critically
2 Steps Back.
2 Steps Back.
Okay. Now keep in mind, as you agree on that, this is like the biggest album. It's her. I would say it's her. It's cementing her as part of a great lineage of pop acts, and it's critically and
you had to be there. You had to be there. It's like one of those things where like if you try to explain it to like a child, they're like, I don't see why this was good. And you're like, trust me.
So what is that 2 Steps Back?
It's referencing a famous review of one of her other albums that's saying she took 1 step forward, 2 steps back.
Who wrote that? Pitchfork?
The New York Times.
The New York Times wrote it, Amy.
By the way, it's not so wild to even suggest that Pitchfork could be doing that since they review pop albums, by the way.
No, I know, but this is, I mean, in this she's not commenting on Pitchfork. Like, that would be so
Well, by the way, I think you fundamentally misunderstand the media landscape. But Pitchfork's like, whatever. Okay. So New York Times said 1 step forward, 2 steps back. She's coming out swinging with this album. What are the sounds that we're hearing?
Well, it's obviously...
Electroclash? I hear Electroclash.
I'm hearing Electroclash. I mean, it has some Eurodance elements.
It's Eurodance meets heavy metal.
One thing is that she's always seen at clubs. Like she actually does go out.
Okay, always at clubs. George, anything? I'm doing a Mad Lib here.
Because she's of course 9 feet tall, so it's like she can't really hide from the paparazzi.
Yeah.
She is polyamorous.
Mm-hmm.
Bisexual, and she says controversial things. Like she'll like randomly say like the F slur.
But it's like she kind of can. It's like weird.
She kind of can, but she also in her normal life is like maybe super trad and like isn't.
She's polytrad.
She's polytrad. Yeah, she's like Mormon basically.
Okay.
And in terms of her fashion, she tried to, like, the fashion world tried to embrace her, but then she literally was like, these are just a bunch of faggots. Like, she was just like, I don't want to be around this many gay men.
She's not fashion?
She is
fashion.
It's complicated. She'll wear, like, a large nightgown.
So does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just tallying it up and I'm crunching the numbers. So
what's the result of the number crunching?
Yeah.
Well, I really didn't plan this, and I don't mean to even be saying this, but you have described more than not Lady Gaga herself. And I'm not even exaggerating or reaching here.
Oh, are you?
Has a voice, but doesn't have a voice.
Yeah.
Being 5 foot tall is a lot like being 9 foot tall.
That's true. It's
controversy. Singing live, fly in her throat. I think that happened.
Sort of being secretly trad. I definitely think Gaga really wants a husband.
I mean, you've seen her at home, right? It's so secretly trad. I just think the
qualities you've touched on here are qualities of the woman herself.
Well, that's huge. I mean, I think that time will keep on passing and that Gaga will Keep on standing, and I'm so curious as to how she'll reflect on us next time.
I agree.
Yeah, God bless her.
God bless her. Shout out to Mayhem. Life is chaos, and you really proved that.
Yeah.
I'm so glad the community can come together, and being in your 30s is actually rocks.
I wish I knew what it was like.
Yeah, you're 47, right? You skipped that.
And I just want to say, go out there and reheat your own nachos because you deserve it.
Amy, does that make you mad?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. And yeah, this was really fun. And I want to say thank you for having me because I know we can have a little fun here and there, but I'm honored to do this with you guys. And yeah, I don't know. It feels sometimes like what we say about this could have real geopolitical impact. So,
and it will.
No, it's
and
the weight is
yeah. So
heavy on our
sometimes I can
shoulders.
feel, like a lot's on the line. But when I'm with you guys, I think I feel safe. Blade of grass.
Yeah. And
It's an honor to have you on and to discuss this artist and this artwork. You have incredible insights and always have and always will. And we can't wait to have you back when we don't need to discuss
and
some
we'll
of the
do a
most
real
important
topic.
pieces of work of all time and can just gab and goof.
Yeah, what's your straight topic going to be next time? Go.
My straight topic for next time, hot sauce.
Hot sauce. All right.
Huge.
Love that.
See you in Coldplay Summer.
See you in the Coldplay summer.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
StraightioLab is a production by Will Ferrell's Big Money Players Network and iHeart Podcasts.
Created and hosted by George Civeris and Sam Taggart.
Executive produced by Will Ferrell, Han Sani, and Olivia Aguilar.
Co-produced by Bei Wang.
Edited and engineered by Adam Avalos.
Artwork by Michael Fales and Matt Grubb.
Theme music by Ben Kling.